Yes. So, Amy, welcome. Amy is the Cloud Governance and Financial Operations Leader at Citizens Bank. And we were willing to bring her in because Amy has a really interesting story where a couple of years ago, when we first met her, she was completely new to the FinOps space, had been at the bank for, I think, 10 years almost, 8 years, and decided that this was her new career path. And maybe, Amy, if I can start you off reading your slides, what was the reason you thought the bank needed to start a FinOps practice, and what pulled you in?
Well, yeah, so that's a great question. So I was given a role in a new governance team that was supporting infrastructure and cloud governance at the same time, which I knew very little about at all. I didn't really understand the cloud or the concepts thereof. And I started looking into what cloud governance was all about. And it started to bring me a lot to the financial role. And I had quite a bit of experience. I don't know if you want to go through some of those slides. That's what I looked like back then. This is what I look like now. I had a lot of experience building financial models from an OpEx perspective for different towers within the infrastructure world. At Citizens, I had done it for the network, and we had a huge budget. So that was a big undertaking, but it was very tangible and it was very understandable. You bought something, you had a price, you paid the invoice. It was not the variable spend of the cloud. And then I started working with the person who was leading our cloud practice at the time. And he started to show me all these reports and Cost Explorer and all these things in there. And I just had no idea what he was doing. And then people started asking questions and I had no idea how to answer them. Next slide. Okay, so I said, at first I thought I can definitely do this. It's not a problem. I've done it before. I can do it again. Next slide. And then I started looking into it and it became a much bigger, more complicated endeavor that I thought. Not understanding the cloud was one thing, but not understanding the data that I was looking at was another. And what was I supposed to do with it? And so if I knew, how did I get other people to know? That was a big problem also. I started creating all of these reports, but what was I going to do with them? Like, how do you get the visibility out to the business line? And I was introduced to one of my cloud cost management vendors, who I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say or not, but it was Cloudability. And I said to them, what do I do with all this data? Who needs to see this? What am I supposed to be showing? How do I do? And they said, calm down, take a breath, which is the next slide. And they said, well, let me introduce you to the FinOps Foundation. And I think you might be able to find some camaraderie and some answers and some support through that organization. And I am not here to promote anything or anybody, but I don't know where I would be without the FinOps Foundation. So to all of you who are new out there,
Thanks, Amy.
please take advantage of it. Look on their website, reach out to the people. There were a number of people who I reached out directly to try to just make some sense out of all of this. You can go to the next slide. And besides reaching out to my community, I really had to determine who are the people within my own organization that need to support FinOps. You cannot do it by yourself. It is definitely a village. And I started to look at my engineers, my architects, my other vendors, my TAM, if you have a TAM or the equivalent, I don't know what Azure calls it, but I'm going to learn. So I just started reaching out to all of these people and asking them their perspective and how do we do this and where should we go? And I started to build this team, taking representatives from each of these areas along with the business line. So you need your business line support people as well. We now have contact people from each of our business lines who are here to support us. We now have the executive buy-in that we didn't really have before. Apparently, there was this big migration to the cloud first adoption strategy. Nobody thought about it from what does the OpEx look like, going from a very capital centric organization where OpEx was sort of kind of thought more of, as an afterthought, support, maintenance things. Now the whole cost of running this thing is now an OpEx spend, and really nobody had thought about what that meant. So we really started to put all of the right dashboards and all of the right reporting and all of the right visibility. We did lunch and learns. We did everything we could think of. I was lucky enough to obtain a resource. It was my only full-time resource and still is, Mike Barry, who is on this call with us now. And we really made a crusade to put all of the data in front of all of the people, to get champions from our architecture group. We had a couple of champions there, and now nobody does anything in the cloud without me knowing about it, without me approving it, without me confirming with my budget with my finance partners. Right sizing recommendations are taken a lot more seriously now. That's always a struggle in the FinOps world, is how do you get people who are hired to innovate, to migrate, to move, to build, to step back and say, wait a minute, I think we may be able to do this in a more cost-effective model. They never thought about that before. They never cared. You handed them a contract or a package or a server, and they just went and they built it. And now they're accountable for the spend and for making sure that we're utilizing the value of the cloud. We always like to say we are not the roadblock. I'm not here to tell you what you can or cannot do. We're here to tell you how to use it better, to get the most out of the money that we are spending instead of just the waste. So we really made a push to get to individual meetings, reaching out to all of these people. And it took a while. I think we're going on year 3 now. And I think we finally have a seat at every table that we want. We have the executive meetings on the calendar for all of next year to review what is now. And another journey for us was creating a budget. How do you create a cloud budget? That is a very difficult thing to do. People aren't planning the way they used to, and it's hard to get down to the application level, but we did it for next year, and we're super proud of all the work that we did in that area as well. This has really become from literally me knowing nothing about this world to now a champion at my company, and I am so proud of what we've developed here, and I couldn't have done it without this group. Am I done?
No, that's great, Amy. I thank you for the kind words about the foundation. I think, when I hear budgeting, I always think of like budgeting cloud is sort of a 4-letter word, right? And nobody wants to get into it, and getting that so that you as the FinOps person leader are not only seated at the table but are welcomed, right? Because often we're the annoying people who come with the right sizing reports, right? And how to move past that.
Yes.
So what is next for your team? You've got one person. Like, what are the next challenges you're tackling?
So I feel like we're probably not going to get more resources, although I ask pretty much every day in every forum and every way I can. But I feel like the answer is utilize the people who are around you more. So that's what we're trying to do. Nice. Yep. We have some big initiatives going on for the rest of this year and next year. And one of them is automating our actuals, budget and forecast and variance reporting. Mm-hmm. Super manual, and Mike spends a lot of time pulling reports or pulling data from Confluence, and now we're up to, I don't know.
Hallo Marc.
I'm sorry?
Oh, I think
ja, das dauert nicht lange. Ich wollte mich nur nach dem aktuellen Stand erkundigen, bei euch mit der Umorganisation.
All right, sorry, Amy, go ahead.
We're up to about 130, 140 apps running in the cloud, workloads that are steady state, nice, good workloads up there. But still the forecasting and getting our business lines to update their forecast, and then taking that data, turning it around, applying all of the discounts and all of the savings plans, putting all that back and showing a business line level forecast that we can drill down into an application level. It's a lot of work, and we're doing it, and not me, Mike. But it's very manual. So automating that using, I don't want to say it out loud, because it's my internal team who's doing it in that tool. But it's going to save us a ton of time so we can now focus on the other things. And some of the other things are automating more of how we do our provisioning in Spot. Hopefully we're going to be doing a Spot assessment to identify some workloads that are Spot ready, I guess, who can withstand the auto scaling the way we need to do it, that are able to use the launch templates. And so we can turn our Spot utilization from probably 10%, and I'd like it to get to over 50%. So I know that's a big goal for next year, but that's definitely something we're working on. We're doing a lot of cleanup work as well. I set my own timer.
Oh, perfect. And actually on that topic, Amy, maybe we should move you into the breakout room. So folks, at the end, Amy and Yulia, who's also telling FinOps story, are going to be in a breakout room so we can keep hearing the stories and ask questions. So thank you, Amy, so much for being a part of this journey with us.